Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and yes, I most certainly did attend the Worthing Minis by the Sea Car Show 2023 event on Sunday, the 3rd of September 2023, and I remember the very date well because it was about 2 short days after Graham and Fiona were happily live streaming, as far as I remember, and I had an absolute blast with making new friends, whether that be friends from the United States of America, or in England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Republic of Southern Ireland, or anywhere around the globe, since they have friends worldwide. That is as truth has it, in the way Dave and Sally Abel have friends worldwide, you know. And I sort of do like minis, you know. Nice little cars, particularly the classic mini cars. They are always good and nice to look at. And people like to pose inside them, and I do, but though they're enchanting and wonderful cars, minis, particularly the classic ones, wonderful little cars, there is a slight disadvantage about them. There's a slight tinsy little issue regarding small mini cars, particularly the small classic mini cars, that is. The slight issue with really regarding over these small classic mini cars, particularly the older heritage classic mini cars, that is, the slight tinsy little issue is that they are not necessarily built. They're certainly not necessarily built for people who are over a certain height. That is the slight tinsy little issue. And could be the same with any small vintage heritage classic car, that is. And I remember the first time I went to Worthing Minis by the Sea, back in 2022, that was, before the 2023 one. I did sit inside an old Mini, because I wanted to sit inside it for a little. I think the owner kindly let me. And I was like, oh, I think I'll probably get in quite easily. Though they're small, I'll try and get in, I think I'll get in easily. But how wrong was I? I had to take things steadily and carefully to get inside. It's different once I was sat inside it. But I had to be careful to clamber inside and out. I had to take things far more carefully because I wouldn't have been able to get in and out all that easily because of my height and weight. Being 5'8" in height and 11 stone or 154 pounds in weight, I'm not exactly small and not the most ideal fit to clamber inside and out of a small classic car, as I really think they're ideally for people who are 5'6" or shorter, although you do get some tall classic car owners of small vintage heritage classic cars, and you're like, oh my goodness, these tall folk, or the taller owners who have to clamber inside and out. It would be incredibly difficult when you look at them getting in and out. You'd think just how tricky it would be. They'd probably have to pull the seat back, that sort of thing, you know. So it was different once sat inside, but there was also another slight issue once sat inside. Obviously it was tricky enough to clamber inside and out because of height and weight, but it didn't have the most sufficient footrest on the floorboards because of my big feet to match with my height as well. And I have said what my shoe size is before, and oh my goodness me, I think some of you want to know. I'm pretty sure there'll be a naughty reason for wanting to know, but obviously there's going to be the reasonable essentialized needs for it. Well, I don't know if I should say, yes I will. How would I propose it? See that? Over 8 inches, that is. So a size UK 8 this is, from there to there. Big feet. Because I have a shoe size 8 UK shoe size, or a 9 in the US, or EU 42, that is, which is what it's in translating correspondence to, obviously the footrest was not always particularly sufficient, dependent on the Mini, that is. And I could have possibly moved the seat back, but I probably wouldn't have done so because it was not my mini car. But it would have made things easily because of my big feet. Or, to go further elaborating the evidently descriptive side of things, reasonably large feet, size UK 8 or 9 US, men's shoe size, you know. So sitting down in a mini car, classic mini car, is not always the most sufficient footrest, and I even experienced the same thing in a small classic convertible car. Even though they're not as terribly tricky to clamber inside and out of, they are a little bit tricky, but because of my height and weight, I just have to be careful not to fall face first into the gear stick or the floor pedals because of my height and weight. So in a way, I envy the 5'6" or shorter than 5'6" individuals who have possessive ownership of small classic cars or small classic minis, because they would not have any trouble to get inside and out of it. Although one person would think differently to what I'm saying, likely because he's shorter than 5'6", and that's David Scott. And David Scott would say, no, Foxy, mate, you wouldn't have any trouble to get in and out of a mini car at your height. In a way, they're built for 6-foot guys. I was like, actually, David, if you were my height and you tried to clamber inside and out of a small mini car, you would find it fairly tricky. It's different once you're sat inside, I get your point on that, but if you clamber inside and out, that's the tricky part, being my height and weight, or certainly if you're 6 foot or taller. But if you were 6'6", or certainly 7 foot, there's no way you'd stand a chance to fit inside and out of a small classic mini or a small classic car. David would probably say, no, not really, well, you know, but we wouldn't argue about it, he would express his strong opinionated thoughts on that, you know. But those are the slight disadvantages of small classic mini cars. But I think a small, fairly modern day mini car, that'd be slightly different. Maybe teensy little bit tricky to get inside and out of, but I would assume there'd be more sufficient, I would almost likely assume there'd be more sufficient footrest for people who've got big feet, like size 8, like I do, or bigger. But one friend of mine would have really not very sufficient footrest in a small classic mini, and that's my friend Tommy Gardner, because of his huge, large size 13 UK feet, or size 13 UK shoe size, or 14 US, that is. And also, likely because he's 6'2", but they're about he said he was 2 different heights to me. Once Tommy Gardner said he was 6'2" and a shoe size 13 UK or 14 US, back in about July of 2022, and then fairly recently he said he was 6'3" and had a shoe size 15 UK or 16 US, and I was like, Tommy, I'm conceivably certain you said you were 6'2" and a shoe size 13, not 6'3" and a shoe size 15. That'd be awfully large, his height, but it will stop him falling over on a positive point, you know. But if Tommy Gardner ended up saying he's, say, 6'4" and a shoe size 17, not 70, 17, I would probably end up waving my finger and saying, okay, come along now, Tommy, I think you're really pulling my leg, and I think you're winding me up a little. But I understand you want to joke, but I think you're going to cause much confusion. But I know you never intended anything bad by saying that. But I'll see what Tommy Gardner has to say if he watches it. Never mind. And also a good friend of mine, well, they're a happily married couple, that's Mary Ipock and her dearly loved husband Glenn Ipock, that is, and she thinks the classic minis are very cute, but obviously she said, I know I wouldn't fit because I'm 5'10", and my Glenn is 6 foot, so we would have a difficult time to clamber inside and out of a small classic mini car. Well, it's not just height and weight you would want to think about, Mary, if you're watching, to clamber inside and out of a small classic mini car, but also big feet. If you've got big feet as well, you might not always have sufficient footrest in a small classic Mini, you know. And Graham would probably find it quite tricky because of his 5'9.5" height, which is 1.5 inches taller than myself. And Trevor Colt, who is also 5'9", he would find it tricky to clamber inside and out, as both Trevor Colt, Graham Hesketh, and Mary and Glenn Ipock have all exceeded the 5'6" range. But my cat's name is Karen wouldn't have a problem, as she did not overshoot the 5'6" range, so she could just get in and out of a small classic Mini car easily without having to take careful caution and that sort of thing. She'd just get in and out easily, no problem. And the same with my mother's family, as they did not overshoot 5'6", and that's the very tallest it gets to. On my mother's side of the family, 5'6", and three are shorter, so than 5'6", so all seven, because there's 7 in my mother's family, and she's the youngest one out of all 7. They could just all clamber inside and out of a small classic Mini car, or any small classic car, easily without trouble, since they're only 5'6" or shorter. Just to say, you know. And that was obviously a sight. So in a way I'd be a bit envious of that, but never mind. That's just the way they were built as we eventually look at it at the end of the day, you know. So there we are, yes. But to get to the point of the video, I got through all the videography footage of the Worthing Minis by the Sea Car Show 2023 event, and I also did the Imagery Picture View slideshow video, so that's all done and completed. But this is the very last video featuring the Worthing Minis by the Sea 2023 event, which is the Imagery Picture View video, but smart telephone pictures, that is. Some photographed pictures I shot on my smart telephone, that is, in this case. So, and that's going to be the very final Worthing Minis by the Sea 2023 event, before their 2024 proceedings, if I can make it and if I can go there. Provided, or as Dave Bryan would say, okay, well, provided you're not jetting off anywhere, Foxy, I would assume you're going to attend the Bexhill 100, Haylingly Festival of Transport, and Worthing Minis by the Sea 2024 event proceedings. Oh yes, Dave, I certainly will. That's provided I'm not jetting off or flying abroad anywhere. But without further ado, let's see the very video itself rolling into action. the Worthing Minis by the Sea event. Goodness, how fortunate am I to have found out about it. I found out about it back in 2022 when myself and my best friend David Scott were attending the Parham Park Sussex Steam Rally 2024 event on Saturday of the 9th of July 2022, and we saw a little leaflet that said Worthing Minis by the Sea, Sunday 4th of September 2022. And I was like, that's an interesting event, I'm going to go. And so obviously, nearly 2 months later, went to Worthing Steine Gardens myself. David did not go, by the way, and nor did he go to the 2023 event regarding Worthing Minis by the Sea. But it's possible he could go there in 2024, 2025, 2026, something like that, you know. So, yeah, and yes, never mind he didn't go. I happily went anyway, and I had a nice time. I even chatted to some nice mini owners, you know, friendly ones, and all that. And there was also quite a tall mini owner couple who were both taller than 5'10", taller than myself. I said before they left Worthing Steine Gardens, where the event was taking place, I was like, oh, do be careful, you two, for how you clambered inside and out, since I don't think they were built for people who are over a certain height. In particular, the case of myself. Even though I'm only 5'8", I had to be careful to get inside and out. And she said, well, we're tall, we'll just pull the seat back and we'll get inside and out, but we'd be careful. I think they took my advice on that. And they had to pull their seats back because of their tall heights. Not surprisingly. But they got in and out, but they really had to be very, very careful to clamber inside and out of their small classic mini. That is. Thanks for watching, and I shall certainly see you in the next video. Ta-ta, another time. From Foxy. Oh.